good morning, and welcome to the Africa Weekly Talk. Today's subject on the docket is about the newly elected Conservative leader of the British Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch, who also happens to be the first black woman to lead the Conservative Party in its over 200 years history. But Kemi's ascension to the leadership role of the Conservative Party have also brought about a lot of controversies, especially talking about her stance on immigrations, colonization, reparations, as well as her stance on her growing up and experiences as a child whilst growing up in Nigeria. And it is out of these stance that Kemi has taken that has also created all these controversies surrounding her leadership as the leader of the Conservative Party. But fellows, before I dive into this subject today, let me play a snippet of an audio recording of Kemi's sit-down interview with the Free Press, where she talked about her experiences whilst growing up in Nigeria with Nigerian police when she was asked about the British police. And I'll come back and dissect this whole Kemi Badenoch issue that has been going on for some time now. So let's go ahead and hear what she had to say. It's a small snippet, and then I'll come back and dissect this whole issue. So let's go ahead and hear what Kemi had to say. All right, fellas, let's go ahead and hear it.
Do you trust the British police?
I do. But I remember my experience with the police in Nigeria was very negative. And coming to the UK, my first experience with the police was very positive. The police in Nigeria would rob us. So when people say, "Oh, I had this bad experience with the police because I'm black and they're white," I was like, "What the hell?" I remember the police stole my brother's shoes and his watch.
His shoes?
Yeah, they took his shoes and his watch. It's a very poor country, so people do all sorts of things, and giving people a gun is just a license to intimidate. But that's not the bar we should use for British police. Obviously, it should be much higher. But my experience was so positive when I was burgled, for example. The police were there, very helpful. They eventually caught the person. This is 2004. So 20 years ago, the police did catch criminals. And now we've given them too much to do, in my view. So the police are the first line of defense for everything. And I think that burden makes it a lot harder for them to actually do the basics. And that's another thing that we need to look at.
All right, fellas. So you just heard a snippet of the interview that Kemi did with the Free Press that also led to a lot of anger by Nigerians, both in Nigeria and Nigerians in the diaspora. As much as I didn't want to dive myself into this whole Kemi Badenoch issue, the diaspora in me couldn't let me go without talking about this issue. Because I can understand where Kemi Badenoch is coming from, as a person who have also lived in the diaspora for some time now. But the saddest truth about this whole thing is that there are some people in Nigeria, as well as some Africans in England and in the diaspora, who are now calling Kemi an anti-Tom. And some are even calling her names, talking about her trying to appease the white British conservatives, right wing, and so on and so forth. And some of these accusations are even coming from some Nigeria media outlets. And it is very, very unfortunate. Because Kemi was talking about her experiences growing up in Nigeria. And it is out of what she said about the police as well as the corrupt system that she grew up under when she was living in Nigeria. That also led to the vice president of Nigeria, Shettima, calling on Kemi to drop her first name, Kemi, the Yoruba name given to her by her parents, which is very, very sad and unfortunate. Because at the end of the day, fellas, Kemi was talking about her personal experience. Kemi was born in 1980 in England. Moved to Nigeria with her parents who were both doctors at a very tender age. So she grew up in Nigeria pretty much all the way through her teenage years. Then she went back, to US, then later to the Britain to take A levels. So she pretty much understands and knows a lot about Nigerian culture growing up all the way to the age of 16. So when Kemi is talking about her experiences, what she encountered growing up in Nigeria, and to hear people criticizing her, calling her names for telling the truth and telling the experiences that she went through, that is sad. Especially when you have some of media outlets in Nigeria who are even talking about Kemi as if like what Kemi is saying is lies. Some people are even calling her a liar. But at the end of the day, who has the right to tell what somebody's experiences are? We all have different experiences in life. You might have grown up in Lagos, but your experiences in Lagos might be totally different from Kemi's experiences. So the fact that you grew up in Lagos, the same area that Kemi grew up, and she talking about police brutality and the high level of corruption, lack of electricity, lack of water, and so on and so forth, that doesn't mean that you also experience the same thing. You might have grown up in a different neighborhood. Or you might have had connections. Your parents might have connections. So you didn't experience the same thing that she went through. So when I hear people talk about Kemi, oh, she's lying, how dare she badmouth Nigeria, she demarketing Nigeria and so on, she's giving Nigeria a bad name. What bad name is Kemi giving Nigeria? As a matter of fact, fellow brothers and sisters, Kemi is the best thing that has ever happened to Nigeria in this modern era. Kemi is the best thing because she has the bully pulpit. She has the mega microphone as the leader of the British Conservative Party. And when she is questioned about her life experiences, she has every right to talk about the experiences, the corrupt system that she grew up in while she was living in Nigeria. And I don't have any qualms with Kemi talking about it. I understand, yes, you are proud of Nigeria. Yes, we are all proud of Nigeria, all proud of our various countries. There's nothing wrong to be proud of your country. But that doesn't mean that if you experience some bad habits, high level of corruption, police brutality, abuses, that doesn't mean you don't have to say it when you are given opportunity to say that. And that is what Kemi is doing. And she has the bully pulpit. And because she has the bully pulpit, now everything Kemi says goes straight all the way through the whole wide world. Everybody hears about it. This was not the first time she had said something about Nigeria. She said some stuff like this years back. But back then, she didn't have the bully pulpits. She didn't have this mega microphone that she has now. Now she's the leader of the Conservative Party. Listening to what she just said about police brutality, the police abusing them and her brother, even stealing from her brother. How many Nigerians can tell me today that what Kemi was saying is a lie? This is what goes on. And it's not just Nigeria. It goes all across Africa. We all know that. What the police does. Yes, the police steal from people all the time. We know that. It's happening right now. Even the so-called time that we call the democracy that we live in. It's still happening. It's even gotten worse. And Kemi is talking about growing up in the 80s. Talking about 80s and 90s. Talking about Babangida, Buhari, and Abacha area. That is what she's talking about, fellas. And these were dictatorships. These were brutal dictatorships back then. When were these same people who imprisoned Abiola? That led to Abiola's death in prison. Come on, fellas. For crying out loud. Nigerian media, for crying out loud. Why were these same dictators that imprisoned Abiola and he died in prison? So what does Kemi say that is wrong? or it's a lie. And the police still go around brutalizing people in Nigeria today as we speak. I mean, just a couple of months ago, fellas, you're talking about teenagers. Teenagers were arrested for protesting bad governance in the north. And they were arrested because they were waving Russian flags and they were accused of treason. And these were teenagers that were kept in prisons for months until public outcry before they were released about a month ago. I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, unfortunately, the news media in Africa, man, they are a part of the level of corruption on that continent. They have become part of the level of corruption because they become the mouthpieces of these corrupt governments in Africa. Because talking about this, what happened to these teenagers in Nigeria? What did the news media do? I mean, you would think that they would take up this case and make it known to the world. But now, because they are in the back pockets of these corrupt politicians, so they have become the mouthpieces. They have become the mouthpieces, but somehow, because they don't like the truth that is coming out of the bigger microphone, which is Kemi'S microphone. So now they on news media in Nigeria criticizing Kemi, for bad mouthing Nigeria. I mean, if she doesn't like Nigeria, she can drop her name and all that nonsense. I mean, give me a break. I mean, the vice president of Nigeria, Shetima, talking about Kemi can drop her name. Of course, she's not going to drop her name, but she has every right to tell her experience. That is the experience she went through. And this thing that she said about police brutality and a high level of corruption, lack of electricity and water and so on, it's still happening, fellas. That is what we are talking about. It's still happening. I mean, she's talking about 20, 30 years ago. And you would think that by now, these things doesn't exist anymore in Nigeria. But it's still happening. So how dare does the vice president condemn Kemi for telling the truth? I mean, I guess they are very sensitive, huh? Well, if you don't want to be that sensitive, then fix your country. Fix your country and prove Kemi wrong. And how do you prove Kemi wrong? You prove Kemi wrong by making sure the rule of law works in your systems. You prove Kemi wrong by making sure there's no corruption in the system. You prove Kemi wrong by making sure that you, the leaders of political parties and the government, don't steal Nigeria's money and go and hide them in Europe, America, and Dubai, and so on and so forth. But as far as you haven't done any of that to prove her wrong, she is right and she has every right to call out Nigeria. And the Kemi is the best thing that has ever happened to Nigeria. Because she's calling them, because she's telling the truth. And the truth of the matter is, I mean, we're talking about just a couple of years ago. I mean, end SARS protest. People were just shot in the street in Lekki. I mean, that's what happened. And then I find it appalling that you have a news media criticizing Kemi for telling the truth. When just a couple of years ago, they were the very ones who saw end SARS protests where young students and citizens were gunned down by the military. They were gunned down by the military. And nobody has been brought to justice up to this day. And you have this very news media have the nerve calling Kemi Badenoch as a traitor. Kemi Badenoch is not a traitor. She's a patriot. That's what she is. You, the news media, and all those accomplices in Nigerian news media, you are the bunch of traitors down there. You are the traitors. Because at the end of the day, you are the ones who have connived. You have become the mouthpieces of these corrupt governments. So basically, you spew out what is good for the government. But at the end of the day, let me tell you something, fellas. We live in a different world. We live in a different world. All these things that is happening right now with social media, you cannot hide behind any curtains anymore. You cannot hide behind these only government mouthpieces, news media anymore. Because we have so many avenues of getting our news now. You have podcasts, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have TikTok, all of it. And these young guys are now using that as their source of information. So you are irrelevant. You are not relevant anymore. Nigerian news media and African news media. You are not relevant anymore. Because now the relevance of news resides in individuals. Podcasts, TikTok, Facebook. That's what's happening now. So whatever Kemi is saying, I know it's an inspiration, and I hope it becomes an inspiration to the Nigerian youth and citizens. Because Kemi is telling the truth. I don't agree with Kemi on everything. I don't. And when it comes to the issue of colonization, reparations and stuff, I have a different take on that. But when a person is sharing her own experiences about what she went through and what she had to deal with growing up in Nigeria, I don't care whether you grew up next to her or you went to school with her, because at the end of the day, people have different experiences. You come to the United States of America right now. You go to Washington, D.C., which is a few couple of minutes away from me, and you ask people their experiences. People have different experiences with police. You might have some people who will think the police is great. By the same token, there are some people who call the police out as being bad and racist. Because at the end of the day, people live in different neighborhoods and have different encounters. So if Kemi is telling her experiences, what she went through and what she experienced in Nigeria, I'm sorry. Nobody can go out and tell, so you could drop your name just because she's telling what she experienced in Nigeria. High level of corruption, the socialist policies by the government at the time. I mean, come on, give me a break. That is what she experienced. It's very, very unfortunate. And then you have the mouthpiece of the corrupt government, which is the media, also coming out criticizing Kemi for as a traitor. Kemi is not a traitor. She's a patriot. That's what she is. You, the news media outlet, you are a bunch of traitors. That's what you are. Because at the end of the day, you are conniving because you become the mouthpieces of these corrupt governments on the African continent. Because if you do your work, your job well, then at the end of the day, you have what Kemi is talking about. You have anybody sitting somewhere in Europe or America criticizing the bad governance of your various African countries. But at the end of the day, that is what you have. That is what you have. I mean, I remember there was a story that came out about 3 months ago, where a Nigerian couple, were pulled over and abused and locked up by military officers just because the military officer was driving and the couple didn't pull over for them to go past them. This young couple were pulled over and abused and arrested and imprisoned for that. Is that what you call democracy? Is that what you call democracy? Do you know what the word democracy means? I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, when I hear this news media outlet, people come on these media outlets down there, talk rubbish, talk nonsense about, oh, Kemi is a traitor, Kemi is saying this, and Kemi doesn't like Nigeria. I mean, come on, give me a break, fellas. Let's be real. Let's be real. Everything Kemi has said about Nigeria so far, she's 100% right on it. As a matter of fact, let me say something, fellas. If Kemi Badenoch today should even run for the presidency of Nigeria, which I know she can't, I mean, because she's a British, but if she should, I bet you majority of Nigerians will vote for that woman. Majority of Nigerians will vote for Kemi Badenoch to become president of Nigeria because they will trust her more than the corrupt politicians that you have down there right now. Majority of Nigerians will trust Kemi Badenoch. She has more legitimacy than the corrupt politicians that you have right now in Nigeria. So at the end of the day, what you are doing, the mouthpieces of the corrupt government, what you are doing is more or less giving Kemi more flowers. Well, that's what you are doing, fellas. I mean, it is unfortunate, because I mean, you hear these people talking about Kemi, talking about this, Kemi did this, and Kemi did that, and Kemi trying to put Nigeria down and talk bad mouth in Nigeria. No. This is her experiences. And everything she has said is happening right now in Nigeria. I mean, the so-called electoral democracies that you have, there's no rule of law. Look at the level of corruption in that country. A level of abuses. I mean, a country without wealth, and look at the level of poverty. And then you have the nerve, I mean, the news media and the vice president, you have the nerve to criticize a woman who is leading the Conservative Party in England, talking about her experiences and the level of corruption in your country. I mean, please, you should shut the hell up. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. That woman is telling the truth. Get over it. Get over it, for crying out loud. Get over it, because if you want to fix the problem, then if you don't want anybody to criticize your governance and high level of corruption and what do you call it, crony capitalism and so on and so forth, then fix the problem. I mean, just a week ago, the OCCR, that criminal investigation organization, came out with a list of the most corrupt people in 2024. Guess what, fellas? Assad was considered number one, but the award was given to Ruto of Kenya, another corrupt man. And then followed by who? Assad. And then number three is who? Tinubu, Nigeria's president. I didn't say it. That is what you, the mouthpiece of the news media of Nigeria, these are the things that you have to report to your citizens. But I bet these guys have never reported that in OCCR, what do you call it, pool or survey that they did. That named Tinubu as the third most corrupt president of the world. Ruto was number two of Kenya. Ruto of Kenya, number two, as the second most corrupt president in the world. And then Assad was named number one corrupt president of the world. So now, fellas, why haven't your news media reported this to your Nigerian citizens and Kenyan citizens for them to know? They wouldn't report it, because at the end of the day, that's a bad news. That is bad news for their cronies. So that one, they won't report it. But they would rather go after Kemi Badenoch, who is telling the truth about her life experiences when she was growing up in Nigeria. I mean, this woman grew up in Nigeria to when she was 16 years old. And then I hear people try to compare her to Rishi Sunak, former Prime Minister of England. I mean, fellas, Rishi Sunak did not grow up in India. Rishi Sunak grew up in England. So, of course, he might have had the level of corruption in India, whatever he had, but he had it through what? As a hearsay, through his parents. Kemi Badenoch grew up in Nigeria, fellas. That's what we are talking about. She experienced it. She went to boarding school there. She walked in the streets of Lagos. So she experienced it. She saw it with her naked eyes. So she has every right to tell her life story as it was. Rishi Sunak did not grow up in India. He grew up in the UK. So everything he heard about India might have come from his parents. And that's totally different. So I heard Shitima, the vice president, trying to talking about Rishi Sunak being the former prime minister, did not talk bad or badmouth India, because he didn't grow up in India. If he had grown up in India and experienced the same thing, most likely he would have said it too. You know, and to those who are saying that, oh, why is Kemi doing this and Kemi doing that and so on and so, fellas, first of all, I understand where Kemi is coming from when it comes to black conservatives. Black conservatives naturally know, for them to earn the respect of the conservative parties that they represent, a lot of the times they speak of the things that conservatives cannot speak of in terms of minorities. So Kemi's stance on immigration, stance on her own lineage about Nigeria and so on and so forth, I get it. Because at the end of the day, Kemi Badenoch can never become the Prime Minister of England if she's going to toe the same line like a liberal Democrat, Democrat in England. It's not going to happen. Because at the end of the day, Kemi Badenoch cannot support immigration as staunchly as a liberal Democrat can. Kemi Badenoch cannot support reparations as staunchly as a liberal Democrat in England can. Kemi Badenoch cannot support colonization stuff. Cannot talk bad about colonization as much as a liberal Democrat can. Because at the end of the day, for you to be elected Prime Minister of England, you have to toe the line very carefully. And I don't know Kemi Badenoch, and I don't know what is in her heart. But she's toeing the line of what she believes is something that has to be done to change the narrative of the British Conservatives when it comes to these issues. And that's why she has this stance on immigration. If you look at her stance on immigration, she's basically toeing the same stance that currently is happening all across Europe. You cannot blame Kemi Badenoch's stance on immigration. Look at all of Europe today. Look at Germany, look at France, look at Spain, look at Italy, look at all of them. And look at America. If you look at the immigration stance of the politicians in these developed countries, Western countries right now, it's all about the same. And they've seen what their electorates have said. Just happening in the US, that the citizens are not going to take lightly the immigration policies that have existed in these countries anymore. And it's happening in Germany right now. So at the end of the day, she is not really taking any radical stance when it comes to the issue of immigration. So I get it. But as a black African, with African lineage, I understand also why people of African descent and blacks in England will be angry when it comes to the stance on these issues. I get it. But at the end of the day also, that is the stance that she can take because of where she's coming from and where she stands in the political climate of England. As a conservative leader, and if she really wants to become the Prime Minister of England, these are stances that she has to take. There is no two ways about it. There's no way she can take liberal stance on these issues. Because at the end of the day, I'm telling you, fellas, even the liberals in the UK will not even vote for her. But with this stance, the liberals will vote for her. Because a lot of the liberals, they won't tell you the truth in UK. They won't tell you the truth. Now, all these white liberals in the UK, you think that they all support immigration and so on and so forth. I'm sorry, fellas. Like I said, look at Europe. Look at Germany. They don't. But when you pull them right now, they'll tell you, they believe in immigration, they believe in all that stuff and so on. But I'm sorry, fellas. It's not. So her stance, as a matter of fact, politically makes sense for her to have these stance. But as a conservative also, maybe she truly believes in them. Maybe she truly believes in some of her stance. Especially when it comes to the issue of reparations. That's where I really, really and staunchly disagree with her on that issue when it comes to reparations and as well as colonization. Because when you talk about reparations, when you say that Africans or blacks in England, the slaves or the West Indians who were sent there don't deserve reparations, that's something I have a different take on. Because at the end of the day, the precedent that was set of reparations came from colonial master France. So if the French can take reparations from Haiti, a poor country like Haiti, then of course, the Africans and the West Indians also have the right to claim reparations from England. Because the French did it. The French were the first to set that precedent. They took reparations from Haiti. And why did they take reparations from Haiti? Because they claimed that because of the Haitian Revolution that kicked them out of Haiti, made them lose millions and millions of dollars in revenue of their plantations in Haiti. Are you kidding me, fellas? I mean, you're talking about an argument that was made by the French for taking reparations from Haiti was that because the slaves fought for their freedom and kicked them out of Haiti, that lost revenue that they would have gotten from the slaves is the reason why they have to be repaid by the slaves. And Haiti, having gone through wars with them, they didn't want to go back to war. So Haiti signed the treaty and paid and continued to pay all the way to quite recently before they finished. I don't know if they even finished paying that reparations to France. So if you talk about reparations, then of course, the African countries can also claim colonization issues, and as well as those African slaves that were sent to England as well also can also claim reparations because the French did it. So Africans also have every right. So that is one area that I staunchly disagree with her when it comes to that. But like I also said, this is not an area that she cannot come out fully and support, because you can never support reparations and talk down on colonization as a British if you want to become the British Prime Minister. It ain't happening, fellas. She can never do that. She can never support those stands. She has to clearly take herself out of that stuff. And that is the stance she has to take. Obama never took stand on reparations in America. I mean, my buddy Obama didn't take a stance on reparations. Why do you think he did it? I mean, if Obama had supported reparations, Obama would never become president of the United States of America. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Because there are a lot of whites who feel like reparations is not the right thing for America to pay to Black Americans, which is unfortunate because Black Americans really deserve reparations. Like I said, if the French can take reparations from Haiti, nobody deserves reparations more than African Americans. Take into consideration working as slaves for over 400 years that benefited the wealth that this country has, America has today. Nobody deserves reparation more than the African Americans in America. But when it comes to colonization, that's going to be a tough order for African countries to claim reparations, because if you look at colonization, that is going to spread all the way to Asia as well. I mean, if Britain should give reparations because of them colonizing Africa, then they have to give reparations to the West Indies, the Caribbean, as well as all the countries that they colonize in Asia as well. And everybody's going to come after them for that. So I don't see any British or European leader who will support reparations for colonization or anything of that sort. I'm sorry, it ain't going to happen. No European leader will ever support that. Because if they do that, their citizens are going to vote them out of office in a minute. So I get it. When she talks about the issue of a stance on reparations and colonization and so on and so forth, because she has a fine line on that, and I understand why she has that angle, because as a leader of the Conservative Party, she can never go against that conservative principles when it comes to that issue. So she has to toe that line. So I get it. But when it comes to the issue of her talking about Nigeria, I don't think she's doing that just because she wants to be elected as Prime Minister of England. I doubt that. I think she's saying that because she wants Nigeria to be better. She wants to see Nigeria to be better because she knows what Nigeria has, the potential that Nigeria has, the wealth that that country has. But you look at economic policies that she went through during the 80s and 90s. Like she said in some interviews, talking about government, crony capitalism, killing people's businesses just to control give a leg to their family businesses and crony capitalist friends' businesses. And it's still going on right now. So if she's saying all these things, she's telling the truth, fellas. That's what she's doing. She's not talking down on Nigeria. She's telling the truth. Like I said, if the Nigerian citizens and their government, if they're that sensitive and they don't want to hear any Nigerian living outside or in Nigeria criticizing the government, then hey, fellas, then do what is right. So you don't have to hear from Kemi Badenoch about how bad things are in Nigeria. I mean, just quite recently, I did a program about Davido, talking about when he was asked about whether it's the right time for people to go to Nigeria. He said, heck no. And people also went on social media to criticize Davido for making that comment, talking about he's demarketing Nigeria and so on and so forth. And hold on. Meanwhile, you had the president of Nigeria go to the, the global summit in Brazil, making the same statement about insecurity and so on and so forth going on in that country. But somehow when Davido said it, they went out criticizing Davido. Meanwhile, the man is telling you guys the truth. I mean, you've been bamboozled for quite too long. Unfortunately, my fellow brothers and sisters in Nigeria, you have been bamboozled for quite too long. So you are now accustomed to always hearing the lies. You want to hear lies. So when you have somebody trying to make you look better, do better, and telling you the truth, you take that criticism as being a traitor to your country. Unfortunately, that is not the real reason behind the criticism. The reason behind the criticism is to tell the truth for the Nigerian citizens to know what is going on in their country. And Kemi Badenoch, like I said, I hope what she's doing is going to empower the youth of Nigeria and the citizens of Nigeria. Because she has the mega microphone, man. She has it. And I wish she continues doing it. Calling them out. I mean, call them out. Because at the end of the day, these people are too corrupt. They're a bunch of thieves down there. I mean, do you know the amount of money the guy's name? Shagari's brother-in-law, Umar Diko. This is a guy who stole about $5 billion US in Shagari's government. And hid it in and banked it in Lloyd's Bank in England in the 80s. $5 billion. Do you know how much $5 billion could have done for Nigeria at that time? I mean, come on. So when you have a Nigerian person right now in the power of leadership, in leadership position right now in England, talking about her experiences, talking about the level of corruption, what she saw, what she experienced while growing up in Nigeria. Now, fellas, you Nigerians have to embrace it, because at the end of the day, it is still happening. It is still happening. There's nothing that this woman has said that is not going on right now that I'm speaking. It's still happening. It just happened a couple of months ago with teenagers. Teenagers being arrested and locked up for protesting with waving Russian flags. And they were charged with treason. Are you kidding me? And somehow, it is okay. For those of you criticizing Kemi, that means it's okay. I mean, I'm sorry, fellas. I'm sorry. It is unfortunate. That is her experiences. That is what she went through. And she has every right to tell her story. And that is Kemi's story. You may disagree with her on so many things, but you can never tell her that her experiences is not her experiences. Because at the end of the day, she's the one who said she experienced that. You might have grown up in Lagos or grown up in anywhere in Nigeria, Abuja or Kano or whatever. Maybe you had a different upbringing in a different political connections and so on and so forth. So you didn't have to go through what she went through. Because not everybody goes through the same thing in any country, even in the United States of America. So fellas, I'm sorry. I mean, Nigerians have to be proud of Kemi. They have to. Nigerians have to be proud of Kemi because she is telling the truth. And she's the best thing that has ever happened to Nigeria in this era. She's the best thing that has happened to Nigeria because she's going to continue to call them out. And I hope one day she becomes the Prime Minister of England. I hope she becomes, so she can put her foot on the neck of the corrupt politicians in Nigeria. All right, fellas, if it's Sunday, it's the Africa Weekly Talk. God bless you guys and have a great week. Peace and love and Happy New Year to all of you guys. Thank you. Thank you and thank you again. Happy New Year.